So, I'm going to sit closer to you, buddy.
Come on, man.
Can I put my arm around you?
Please.
This is my apology for being late.
Right.
And for not having a theme song for us this week. And for not having a nice theme video. All those things are going to happen next week. But we do have a lot of cool stuff today. Oh, by the way, welcome to Dial a Drummer. Both the obviously live webcast.
Obviously live.
And obviously late webcast. And
all for good reasons.
Yes, and in a few weeks, once we get our website finished and we get a few episodes recorded, we're going to actually be a podcast. So if you can't watch us live every Monday at noon Eastern Time, then you'll be able to listen and maybe even, watch. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be a bunch of different places.
And we appreciate everybody tuning in and
this is Shannon Kori. This guy is the calmer. He's the more organized of the two of us. He's the guy, he's a drummer.
But Brian wears the most hats. You would not believe the amount of gear that it takes to pull all this together. So kudos to you, my friend.
Yeah, I'll put our names up so that I can remember mine. Guys, thanks so much. You're probably watching us on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or Periscope, Twitter, within the next few weeks. Oh, you know what we're doing this week that's new? We're on a service called Spreaker. Which is it's a live audio streaming service. It's kind of like internet radio, basically.
Right.
And so if you can't watch the podcast, then or watch the live cast, then you can dial us up on Spreaker. If you go to dialadrummer.net/radio, it'll pull up a player. There's a lot of people that already have the Spreaker app on their phone. And if they have that on their phone, they can just dime up the app and just search for Dial a Drummer.
Trying to make it available on all platforms.
We pretty much want to be on every screen and every mobile device across the entire world.
We're trying to be as social as we can.
Because Lord knows, you sit in a room with no windows long enough.
That's true.
You forget how to be social.
You forget the outside world.
So anyway, we do have the call-in line today, and we have a toll-free call-in line starting this week. I had a couple of people that were like, hey, man, I'm going to dial from my phone at the house. I have a landline. It looks like that. And I don't want to pay, but I'd love to ask a question.
For those kids at home, this is a rotary phone. This thing used to spin. This is what we grew up on.
So you just stick your finger in the holes, and you dial. Oh, wait.
Too soon.
844-833-3786, and I did have the foresight just enough to make sure that those last three numbers spell out drum.
Clever.
I just feel so clever. Can I bask in that for about 4.5 seconds?
Okay.
Okay, good.
That's good.
Anyway, so, by all means, I didn't make a new lower third for it, but if you've got questions, you can always email the show, dialadrummer@gmail.com. You can even hashtag dialadrummer. You can follow us on all kinds of different social. I'm flying through this today, by the way, if you hadn't noticed. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever they're using in China now.
We'll make up things. We don't even know.
Yeah, we'll make our own services before it's over with. Anyway.
Just look for Dial a Drummer. You'll find us.
So for you guys who don't know, Dial a Drummer is a live show that happens every Monday. It's also, you can watch it if you can't tune in. You can listen if you can't watch.
Right.
And there's a certain amount of interactivity. And obviously with the dialing part of the show, we've got the call in, and we're going to be dialing out in just a few minutes to a very, very special guest. If you've seen any of our ads on social media, this is a huge get, especially for episode 3. And he's on vacation right now. That's how awesome Rob Wallis is.
Absolutely.
On his vacation, he's going to sit with a bunch of numbnuts that are, man, can you get that past the censors? We're not on television.
Right.
He's going to sit with us, and he's going to chime in on what we're talking about, because Rob, if you don't already know, is responsible for, he's the reason why every drum video in the world exists today. That is no overreaching step.
Thank you for that, sir.
And if had I had time to dive behind the set, what you don't know about this set is this whole wall is a huge
video case.
Library. It's got every DVD, every CD, every VHS. There's a Yogi Horton. It's got a plain gray cover. There's no picture. It's all writing. A Yogi Horton VHS from DCI. That's one of the first drum videos. We're going to let him talk about that.
We'll get to that. Yes, sir.
He doesn't know it, but I've at least made 2 house payments by buying all his videos. And so we're going to talk to Rob. We're going to talk about his company, Hudson Music, and this amazing app called Drum Guru. And let's just jump into...
Let's go.
Let's get all the pretense out of the way.
Okay.
Let's get rid of the lower thirds that we're not using. So today, we're talking about digital drum education platforms. It's a mouthful.
Online services, if you will.
Basically things that are not physical media that you use to learn how to play the drums. Now, my first question to you, and see, we had all these wonderful things that we had set up to talk about, but I'm going to jump right to it, Shannon.
Let's go.
Let me ask you.
Ask me.
How do you use digital media in your practice time?
Well, that's a great question. So with the advent of iPads and YouTube and all these video formats, it's nice. You can have it set by your kit. You can play along with videos. You can go to some of these online sites that have some great lesson programs. Some of these older videos that we're talking about, the current videos. I mean, you have access to everything now. So whether you're a new student, a middle student, a pro, you can always be working on your game.
So for me, again, I go way, way back. I remember the very first drum video I ever saw. I can tell you exactly. I was 15 years old. I just learned how to drive. I would go down to a church that was connected to a Christian television station, kind of like this, what we're doing right now, except not Christian. And there was a drum set there, and there was a guy named Robert Lanier. And Robert Lanier showed me a DCI video that was, I guess, made in conjunction with Yamaha that had Ed Soph and Horace Arnold on it. It's called the drum set, A Musical Approach, I believe. Yep. And that one is sitting over there. Bill McBrayer, thank you for making sure I had a copy of that. It's been 30 years since I've seen it. I put a note on social media. Hey, I'm looking for a copy of this. I can't seem to find it. Our friend Bill McBrayer drove one to my house.
Very nice. Thanks, Bill.
So that's the very first one that I ever saw. Flash forward all these years, and I think I own the entire catalog.
Absolutely.
And so video has been a huge part of my learning experience from early on, from 14, 15, all the way up now to 45. And now there are so many different ways that we can consume media. There are things like DVDs. I mean, people still use DVDs. A few folks do. My granddad still has a DVD player. My dad still has one.
Yeah, but you and I have all the original VHS tapes.
Yeah. And a lot of those
So we
now,
still have VHS players in our catalog.
What I've done is, like with my VHS and my DVDs, I've used different ways to digitize that stuff, and I've got it in my iTunes library. So the things that I own at this point, because I want them to be portable, I want to be able to just push it to my iPad and go and use it down in the drum room or take it on vacation, or if I'm teaching a lesson and I know ahead of time that I want to be able to show something to a student, I can load that onto a media device. But there are a lot of ways online that you can also learn how to play drums, or if you're a teacher, use those things with your students as well.
Right.
Or use them in conjunction with your students. That's kind of where I'm going with this whole thing. Free options. The most obvious one is YouTube. How do you use YouTube?
I'll use YouTube more to check out what's out there. That used to be the precursor where if you wanted to see concert footage that you couldn't get to, or, even early lesson programs, you could utilize it. So YouTube's still pretty valuable because there's a lot of sites on there that you can use for free.
Can I show you?
Come on.
How I use YouTube?
Show me.
Okay. So this is gonna be nuts. So the first thing I'm gonna put this on the screen for everybody to see. So this is a screenshot, a partial screenshot of my playlists and my subscriptions. So one of the things that I do as I come across videos is I have, and I don't just do this for drums, but specifically for drums, I have a playlist marked as a drummer's name. And every time I see something that I want to hang on to, then I make sure to drop it in that playlist.
So you got like a Vinny channel or
Oh,
a
dude.
Dave Weckl
Now,
channel.
if I could see a little bit, check this out. So I've got a few different playlists. The one that they're looking at right now, this looks like Weckl one. Yeah, that's my Dave Weckl playlist. That's my, there's a better version of it. I got a Sean Pelton playlist.
Nice. Good choice.
Anything that I see of his. And then, that's part of my Tony Williams playlist right there. And so with YouTube, what I tend to do is first I catalog things that I come across. I even have one, it's somewhere in these graphics, that's drumming ideas to practice. And so if I see something, whether it's somebody playing or a lesson video that I like, I'll throw it into that drumming ideas to practice, especially if it's in conjunction with something I'm already working on. But that's not the powerful. That's a great cataloging feature.
Right.
It's a virtual
But how do
version
you
of
use
what
it?
I have sitting behind the
How
set.
do you utilize this?
All right, here's the power user tip that I just told you about that not a lot of people know about. So if you look at this window, if you look at the player window on YouTube, some people used to use a plugin of their browser, and if you're not technically minded,
Right.
Or if you're not invested in technology, you didn't go there. But now inside the browser on YouTube, if you go down to that little thing here at the bottom feature,
Right, that'd
if you
be
go to
nice.
the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that there is a little icon there, and you can choose the speed of the video. And this is where, for me, YouTube gets really powerful.
So it's like an LP. You can slow down the video.
Yep, exactly.
Very nice.
Just like Weckl talks about he used to do with the Buddy Rich records and stuff like that. Problem with doing that in an analog world is everything gets
Right.
and it's indiscernible. But YouTube's algorithm is pretty good, especially if it's just drums. When you slow it down to half speed, and let me show that little screenshot. So you've got some options there. You can show it normal speed, 3/4 speed, half speed. At quarter speed, it gets a little dicey.
Sure, sure.
Or, if you want to hear what a slow lick sounds like fast, you can double speed it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so there's
can
a
go
lot
both
of
ways.
options that you guys are seeing on your screen right now that you can use YouTube. And so what I'll do a lot of times is I will, like if there's something that Vinny's doing that just blows my mind,
Which is
my
pretty much
Vinny
everything.
I looked at my playlist this morning. Vinny's got like 200 things on my playlist. Obviously, I got a favorite there, but So if I see something that just blows my mind, I can slow it down half speed and watch it at a more palatable speed. But more importantly, if I'm working on a particular piece of vocabulary and I know it's somewhere in one of these videos, I can isolate that and I can just watch how he does that at a speed that I can understand.
Sure.
Jojo Mayer on his great Hudson Music DVD that he put out, Secrets of the Modern Drummer. Was that it? Secrets of the Modern Drummer? Rob will tell us when he gets here. He said that you can only play as fast as you can hear. And I will go one step further and say that you can only understand what other people are doing as fast as you can hear.
Right.
So when Vinny's doing those crazy flam 7 ideas that he's got and 5s and all these wild ideas, when they're flying by, there's no way I'm going to pick those out. But at half speed, when it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, then Remedial Brian.
When you can transcribe it in your own personal time, it makes it a little bit easier.
So for me, YouTube as a learning source is much more valuable that way. I mean, obviously concerts are great, or footage of hearing or seeing and hearing people are great. But that one feature alone makes YouTube worth the entire bet for me.
Absolutely.
The problem, though, as I see it, is that if you run around the world just eating free lunches, you get kind of fat on bad food.
Right. Develop some bad habits.
Well, and really, if you're trying to learn the vocabulary of playing drums, then, obviously, a teacher is something that's incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. It helps with accountability and make sure you don't steer off a wrong path or develop some bad habits or bad technique.
Right.
Also helps you to stay focused with your time.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at some paid services And we're going to dime through just a few features to show you how these things work.
Right.
And the main thing is the difference in a lot
Each
of them.
platform.
There's a ton of different offerings. If I could scroll up, we'd see that, there we go. Hey, there's a nice list right there. So, so as far as the non-physical product, there are a lot of options. There's websites you can go to. There's video on demand that you can download. There are all sorts of sites or apps where you can get some kind of instructional content
on your device, your phone.
More in an app format. So what we're going to do first is we're going to hit, we're going to stay probably out of the VOD right now. I will say that I have bought Ben Caesar stuff, Aaron Sterling stuff, Russ Miller's whole package, which is like 300 videos. And those are good places to start, and they're good supplements. But especially if you're trying to put together an entire curriculum for yourself, they might be a little lacking because they're very specific.
Right.
We're going to leave those off for today. We'll just talk about sites. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Drumeo.
Okay.
And this is the one that I'm probably the newest with. I've only been, I started an account about 2 weeks ago I wanted to try it out before we talked about it.
Gotcha.
These other sites I've been on for a lot longer, but basically with Drumeo, you're paying either $29 a month, or you can pay just under $200 for a year, which if you think about what weekly lessons with a teacher cost, it's pretty good.
Pretty reasonable.
And so they've got this platform where, and you're actually seeing some live shots here of some of the features of these platforms. Basically, Drumeo is a repository. It's a channel. It's a lot of different things. They do some live streaming publicly. They do some live streaming just to their members, and then they have a whole repository of lessons that are broken into courses, or you can watch by the player.
And then they've also got some packages that are available that you can buy, like play-alongs and...
And you'll see in their interface here, they've got a lot of different features, including their course features, the library. They've got some play-along songs that you can use. They even have some features built in if you're a member of the community to actually talk to someone there at Drumeo, or talk with other people in the community, and maybe get some help if you need it. It's a pretty cool feature. The screenshot that I'm pulling up now, take our logo off of there, they probably appreciate that. So you'll notice one of the things is they actually have these tiers, almost like stages. They've got several beginner stages, several intermediate stages, and a couple of advanced stages.
So there's something for everybody.
Yeah, and every one of these blocks is a course block.
Right.
So there may be 3 to 8 videos in a course block. And so for a beginner, you've got a nice runway of material that you can work through. You'll notice in the middle, that's where all the intermediate stuff is. They've got a ton of intermediate content. Where they're probably lacking is on the more advanced content. And really, especially on a site like this, the advanced content is probably better as a primer. So like if you've got some advanced Latin stuff you're doing, or advanced metric modulation, it's probably best that maybe you use that as a primer. You start on some of that, and then you find a teacher that you really dig and that knows that subject very well, and then you can dig deep. That's, for Drumeo, that seems like, especially for the more advanced player, a better way to go. You can take a look at some of their interface with how they set up with their videos. They've got some printed music online. They got a cool feature too where you can actually hear some of the examples played at different speeds. So I'm guessing it's a recording. It's not MIDI. From the ones that I listen to.
That's nice. You can hear the example as you're trying to work through it.
You can hear those. So Drumeo is it's one of the more widespread platforms. They do a ton of advertising. You see that a lot. And
a lot of master classes, if you will.
Yeah, and where I got into them was catching some of their live master classes. If you catch any one of their live things, their hour-long things on YouTube, you can get an idea of what that platform is like. And what they basically do is they take their hour-long, like if they get Billy Cobham for an hour, they'll go back and they'll chop it up into blocks for you in their courses. They'll have some written music there for some of the things that are being played. They'll have some examples of it being played.
Transcribe the examples.
Yeah. So especially if you see one of those free lessons, free webcasts that they do, and you want to go back, it's a great resource for being able to do that. So now, if you're one of those kind of people that you just want to watch video, DrumChannel is probably the one for you.
Agreed.
That's probably the oldest one out of all of these. Have you seen any of the DrumChannel stuff?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they do some online content for free through YouTube and other places.
But it's more of, concerts or, players playing together.
I call it the drum TV of the internet.
Yeah.
It really, they if you'll look, theirs is $14.95 a month. It looks like. Kind of small to see it there. And they have an annual subscription that you do too as well. And basically, if you look at the platform, it's I'm just going to dime through a few of these. They set them up in weeks, and every week they have a schedule of programming, like a television station. Right. Some of their programming is every single week or every other week, this person is going to present this television show for you. And some of them are drum lessons. Some of them are more like drummers roundtables or drummer jam sessions. Drummer
hangs kind of thing.
Yeah, which that's a cool feature to be able to go through. And as we're talking about this, I'm just kind of showing you some of the shots from the sites. There's some of their DrumChannel shows. They got a whole listing of the things that are regular. And if you take a look at, this is one of their secrets from the pros, which is more like a course that you can take.
Topics you can get into.
Yeah, they cherry pick certain players and certain topics, and they just throw them all into one playlist. If you want to take a look at the interface, the older interface is pretty straightforward. From some of the really old videos, it's just, here's what we put together for you. It's what in the professional circles is what we call switched output. Right. It's just whatever they did live, and
threw it up there.
That's it, and you can just watch those videos. But what's really cool with some of the newer videos is that they have these multi-cams that you can, instead of just sitting and watching, you can actually pick the camera mid-stream.
Oh, that's cool.
There's a little bit of a pause when you go to another camera because it's indexing it. But like in the case of this Thomas Lang video that we're showing right now, you get 3 cameras. You get kind of a side, you get a foot cam. With that guy's, it's super important.
Watch those feet.
And then you got the overhead cam, which is probably my favorite shot in drum education altogether, is the overhead cam. So that gives you an idea of what DrumChannel looks like and kind of how it works. And really, to me, it's as much for the casual learner as it is for the guy who, like me, I don't watch a lot of television. If I'm going to spend time watching some kind of programming,
it's usually musical related.
It's music related, so this is great. I can dime up some kind of thing. This is live on the internet, Shannon.
Absolutely. Here we go.
Warts and all. That's the beautiful thing.
It's live.
The room above my garage. I love it. Anyway, all right. Four Hands Drumming. This is a site that I just joined probably February. It's a site by Carter McLean.
Very talented young man.
Shoot, man. I joined it a few days before he came here to play with Charlie Hunter.
Yep.
And at some point we're going to get him on the show.
Absolutely.
And he has a site called Four Hands Drumming. So this really is like getting a 1-hour private lesson once a week with Carter McLean. It's whatever Carter decides he wants to talk about that month. And it's all very valuable. If you look at the screenshot I'm throwing up there for you now, you can see the past lessons that he's been doing. And he's only been doing this about a year, so there's a real small repository of these lessons. But they range from miking drums and tuning drums to working with a bass player. And he actually has one where he actually has a bass player on.
He also works a lot with different sound sources, different setups, that kind of thing.
Because he gets these groovy sounds. That are pretty amazing, and you'd be really surprised. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but a lot of his drum sound is one overhead mic and one kick drum mic.
Sounds wonderful in that room.
Says a lot about how well he tunes his drums and plays them.
Absolutely.
And one of the great things about Carter's site is you can also Skype, in addition to your membership, you can Skype with him for regular lessons.
Oh, that's
and he
nice.
gives a discounted rate to all of his folks.
Keeps it very personal.
And
that's
so,
nice.
yeah. And so the powerful thing about Carter's site is if you dig his playing, you dig what the guy does in terms of his way that he explains things and some of his free content, the site's really just a more direct way to get really deep with Carter.
Right.
On whatever topic is of interest to him this week or this month. And again, I tend to with this one, I watch it like television, and then I usually have a note card or something. I'm writing an idea down, and I watch it in chunks. I watch 10 minutes over breakfast.
Sure.
I watch another 15 minutes as I'm kind of winding down for bed. I do actually wind down every once in a while.
I don't believe you.
And when I do, I'm watching drum videos. The least winding down thing that you can possibly do. All right, so there's one site we have not talked about. It is a website.
Yes.
And it is probably the granddaddy of all websites.
Yeah, the preeminent one. Kudos to him.
And I'm going to go ahead and just brag on Mike Johnston because he has taken the cliche that those who can't do teach. And he has stomped a hole in it. Like Godzilla on Tokyo.
And done it beautifully.
Yeah. And so let's for a second, we'll talk about Mike'sLessons.com. And in terms of the breadth of content, because he's been doing it for like almost a decade, the technology that's behind this, the features, he just rolled out some cool features now yesterday where it builds even more of the community of student. So Mike's Lessons, it's basically $30 a month, and they have some, looks like quarterly and yearly rates that are slightly discounted.
Right.
So again, with the subscription service, here's what the interface looks like. You can see there's a whole menu. The menu side on the left, just some nice little icons for all the different things that you can do. With Mike's students, he does 3 live casts a week, beginner, intermediate, and advanced.
Right.
For about an hour. It's about 30 to 40 minutes of teaching, and then he does some Q&A. There's also a lot of chat features and comment features built into the site. Students can actually upload their own videos of them doing things, share them across the platform.
And what's really cool is he'll respond with that student, which is a great feature.
Yep, they've got
kind
all
of taken
kinds of
all of
feedback.
these platforms and made a nice mix of it all.
It really is a nice mix of a lot of the things that you love, plus some things that some people never even thought about yet, especially the sharing features. So you can kind of go in. This is one of his practice tip things. You've got a few different panes you can go into. I've got a few lessons in progress. There's a Bluzda lesson there that I never knew how to do it, and he had a lesson on it.
There you go.
But then Mike also has these courses, and I just screenshotted a few things that I had in my queue of courses. So again, he has a repository of different courses that if you drop into, say, the intermediate hands course, hand speed course, there may be 4 or 5 lessons that range anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes. And he goes through some of those things with you. You can take a look at the interface there. You get the player window in the top. You've got some of the music that's at the bottom. And there's one feature that I didn't put the full screenshot in here.
The transcriptions on his site are beautifully
They're
done.
really good.
Yeah.
The thing about the transcriptions is that somehow in terms of the technology, they're tied into what's called the Groove Scribe. And the Groove Scribe is a MIDI-style playback engine that has a bunch of different drum sounds in it and a few different stylings. And so when you look at that playing example, you can actually hear it played back to you through the Groove Scribe, and you can change the tempo of it.
Right.
So you can hear what it sounds like at various tempos. You can also play along with it. And that's probably the flagship feature of this site that makes it different from everything else is this ability to, since you can't have a teacher sitting with you, the Groove Scribe is a nice surrogate.
And always being able to hear those examples.
Yeah. So with Mike's Lessons, there's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And for people that are wondering if it's a great platform for them, it really is a platform that it's a vocabulary platform. That's what I call it. If there's a particular kind of thing you're wanting to learn, hand and foot linear ideas, or flam ideas, like how to use flam accents around the kit, you'll have courses you can drop into for all of that, and there's some curriculum for that. There's one last website that we're going to go through really quickly that I have to go through. Full disclosure, I've taken lessons with this guy over the past 5 years, and he's changed a lot of things about my playing. And I felt like we had to talk about his site, not only because he's a great teacher, but because his site does something that nobody else does. So with all of these sites that we talked about so far, they're all they're not genre specific. Whether it's changing out the player or changing out the curriculum, you really can apply this stuff in a lot of different ways. But there's a great site online called jazzdrummersresource.com. And the name right there tells you that it's for
jazz drummers,
funk drummers, blues drummers, no, jazz
rock
drummers.
stars. Right.
Exactly. Well, this guy's a rock star for sure. So Justin Varnes put this great site together. It's a subscription site that I believe it's, if I look at that pane, I think it says $25 a month. For one 1 hour lesson with Justin is going to run you $75. So for 1/3 the cost of a lesson with Justin, you get this site. And you can see by some of the features, it's broken into groove ideas and style ideas, fill ideas. The curriculum's broken up in a lot of different ways. I'll just show you a few ways to get through the interface there.
But being genre specific, it's very nice because it's very focused on this particular style, and he is great at it.
And one of the things that's different about this site versus any of the other sites that you'll go to is that a lot of what he does not only taps into that particular style of music, but it taps into particular players.
Right.
So he'll have an Elvin Jones lesson or a Max Roach lesson on one particular piece of vocabulary. And the way that his site is set up, you've got a video. I didn't put that screenshot in there, but you've got a video, and then if there's any music, you'll either see that on the screen or you can download a PDF.
Right.
And so it's a real simple interface. You just basically cull through and you can pull your own curriculum together. But the thing that makes Justin's site so incredibly valuable is it goes deep into a style of music that not a whole lot of drum instruction online goes into.
It's true.
Maybe because it's an older art form, maybe because musically it's a little harder to digest. I'm not sure why, but if you were wanting to learn anything specific to jazz drumming, I would go directly to Jazz Drummers Resource.
Absolutely.
It would be the place to go. And Justin also does private lessons outside of just the site itself. So those are all the site-based things that you can get into that we're going to talk about today. But there's something that we've left out.
Yep.
And I've intentionally left 2 of these tools out on purpose because today on the show, we have, I hope he doesn't mind me using this word to talk about him because he's such a young, spry looking fella, but this guy is he's the godfather of drum videos.
It's true.
He really is. He's the granddaddy of all drum videos.
We owe him a lot of thanks.
And so on the show today, we're going to bring you in here. We've got Rob Wallis, and if I can find the screen, where's Rob Wallis? This is live TV, folks. How about display 2? There we go. And it should come up to the top. Where's Rob?
Load him up. Let's go.
Oh, it's still loading. We're still loading your face, Rob, but your voice is there. You're there in voice.
Welcome to Dial, Drummer Rob. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thanks for waiting around an hour for us to talk. So the two things that you make available, that your companies make available, are Hudson Music and specifically Hudson Digital, and a great app called Drum Guru. Now, Hudson Digital specifically, is that just? And I'm going to show screenshots while we talk about it. But is that just the DVDs in a non-DVD form?
Pretty much. I mean, we make all that content. There's, hundreds of hours available, both in video, and then we have the Hudson Digital book site. So if you want to get, let's say, the Steve Smith book or the Mark Juliana book, and you'd rather have it digitally in your iPad or any, notebook form, any Android version, whatever, you can just go onto our website and purchase the digital download. And it's a great tool. And in some ways, the digital part of our books, there's an added value. I'm not sure how much you've gotten a look at that. But we have our videos pop up on screen as a little, you kind of click a button. So if you're looking at a page and it's got exercises and you're on your iPad, rather than having to go find the video or put it in a DVD or find something digitally, you just click a button and a little pop-up window appears, and the video that goes along with that exercise is live.
Cool.
And right in front of you. So it's really taken, I think, the technology kind of to the next step in terms of ease of use and really and practicality.
So on screen right now, I'm showing people my particular Hudson Music catalog, and there looks like there's about maybe 18 or 20 titles there, and most of those exist in some way as a DVD. But with this particular service, now you do have a subscription and a purchase as you go kind of option. Is that, am I correct in looking at that?
Yep, there's a couple of different digital subscription options, and then kind of a a la carte option.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's the one I tend to do. I tend to do the a la carte, and people on screen can see that. And if they look at some of the player there, I'm kind of showing them the player live here. If you're looking at it on the actual website through a web browser, it looks like a regular video, and then there's some controls at the bottom where you can index these things, and you can half speed some stuff, it looks like, or something.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the navigation, at least from the website, you can see it looks a lot like a DVD chapter list, where you can just get right to the heart of a lot of the content that's there. The other thing that's kind of newer than the Hudson Music and the Hudson Digital, though, is the Drum Guru app. So for just a second, tell me what's different about Hudson Digital versus Drum Guru, because a little of that content kind of crosses over, but it looks like there's stuff that's specific for Drum Guru.
Yeah, I mean, the Drum Guru concept, it's been around now for probably 4 years. In the beginning, we had to keep things pretty short because of download speed, and we wanted to make sure that people all over the world could view this kind of no matter what kind of internet they had, and kind of the traffic that was involved. And in the early days, people in different parts of remote countries would say, it's not working, it's not loading, it freezes up, and it always had to do with their the congestion on their line when they were. But these days that's pretty much cleared up. We don't hear that anymore. But to answer your question, we still the Drum Guru stuff is very specific. There could be a pack on playing on time signatures, and they're 2, 3, 4 minute video examples and lessons that you go through one by one. And it's just a different format and a different layout. And again, this is for your phone or for an iPad. Unfortunately, we've made a decision. We had to drop the Google Play Store version because it was just too difficult keeping up with all of the Android devices that were coming out and the number of system updates. And it was just, a full-time job just making sure that everything worked on all platforms. So what we did was we shut down the Google Play Store. We're still in the App Store, but then we put everything online through a browser, and you can watch it on any device through the Drum Guru website. So nice. Really, we're trying to funnel people to that because it's a good experience and it works on any device.
Are you guys specifically, with some of the curriculum that you're putting together, is there curriculum there's Rob right there, finally, we got him on there. Right. Now you're on screen, Rob.
There we are.
So,
hey, everybody.
So are you guys specifically putting together content that's just for Drum Guru? Yes.
Whenever we shoot a new product, new project, we try to think about what would work well in the Drum Guru format, which again is this short, very specific lesson. It could be, 6 different grooves in different time signatures, and each one becomes its own lesson so that you can work on it, slowly, kind of master it, and then get it into your playing and then go on to the next one.
So, like the Steve Gadd one's great. He's got some very specific things that he talks about. The one I just started digging into because I've been working on some Brazilian stuff is the samba packages. Mm-hmm. And there's some stuff in those packages that's really I haven't seen in any books. And seeing a player do something, someone that is, that's their native tongue, basically. It really is a very enlightening experience to be able to see that. And the thing about Drum Guru that I love is these lessons are not expensive.
Right.
Was there some thought that was put into the price point of these lessons?
Well, we want to make them affordable. It's certainly, we could certainly charge a lot more for the lessons, I think. There's some great information in them, but we wanted to make them very affordable. And, it may or may have not been the right business decision at the end of the day. But that was really what the concept was, something low priced. And it was, you kind of don't think twice about, for $3.99, $2.99, $4.99, to get a half hour with Steve Gadd for $4.99, it was kind of crazy. But
that's a bargain, heck of a bargain.
That's where we went. For the price of a cup of coffee, you can sit there and, if you get one idea that inspires you to do something, it's, obviously well worth the price.
For sure. So listen, we've got a caller on the line specifically called to talk with you. So let's bring somebody in. This is a first for Dial a Drummer.
Right.
Not only do we have a call, but it's somebody that's calling about our guest. So let's drop Chuck in. Hey Chuck, can you hear us?
How you doing, Rob? It's Chuck St. Troy. How are you?
Hey Chuck, how you doing, man? Where are you, in Vegas?
I'm in New York. No, I'm here for the weekend. I'm working around here for the last few days, and I saw on my feed that you were going to be on the radio. I wanted to call in and say hey.
Oh man, it's good to hear your voice. Yeah, I'm actually down in South Jersey at the moment on vacation with my family, so I'm not around to catch one of your gigs.
I know, we always bump into each other here and there. I saw you at NAMM, but we didn't get a chance to catch up.
Yeah, well, are you doing that Christmas show? We're going to be doing that show in December, right, for Wounded Warriors?
This year I'm not going to be able to, but we've done it in the past, and of course, you were always like primo out there. I love the way you play, and I just wanted to call in and ask you a couple little technical questions, because a lot of people know that I sing and play sax. They don't know that I started out as a drummer. And I still actually play, and the internet's a great thing for like going and seeing different people doing different types of music. But what is your favorite type of exercises to do for bass drum, hand, snare drum stuff to keep things going? What do you what's your forte to practice on?
I like to do things. I've been working on real simple patterns, with a click, where the right side will play, even just like 2 and 4 in the snare drum. Some, it could be straight eighths on the ride, or the bell pattern, like a bell pattern ride, and playing, different things with the left foot. I've been really getting into playing like shuffles, where you're playing the hi-hat on like, let's say, the last 16th note of each beat. So, you get into this really great kind of rocking motion, and it's really solid. Like for that kind of pattern, you could play 4 on the floor, 2 and 4 on the snare, like a little, swing shuffle pattern on the ride, and then try playing your left foot on the last 16th of each beat. So you get it like that tattoo feeling. And
that's good.
It's a really great independence exercise, and I think it's real practical to use. I've been using it, on gigs a lot lately, and guys like look around because it really locks in. It's a kind of can be a heavy feel if you're really hitting the bass drum hard. It can be a lighter feel if you lighten up on the bass drum, but it works great.
The swing is important. You got to get the swing in there. You got to get the shuffle in there. You have to get the beat in there. I happen to watch I watched the recent thing with Ray Luzier, the guy from Korn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he does some tutorial quick things on the internet, and I just happened to fly by him because I saw who he was, and I know that he's a great player. But
Yeah,
he was very direct. He was very direct. He did these double bass drum exercises with foot and hand, repetition. And he said something that was really cool because nobody really addressed the fact that accuracy and make sure that you're not only with the click, you play with something that gives you time, but to make it clean. And it's not how fast you go; it's how clean you can go. And I thought that was pretty cool because a lot of people, they're fast and sometimes it gets a little jumbled up because they're going so quick. But if you can keep focused on your speed and keep focused on your accuracy, I thought it was great. And, a lot of young guys are out there learning how to play, and they go to these things to try and pick up the tricks. Well, the tricks are to stay in time, keep focused, and make it clean. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I enjoy playing super slow. And, especially when you have a click going and just seeing how you lock in and make a pattern feel good with a lot of space in it and, really slow. And, it goes back to what Miles Davis said years ago, that music is made in the space between the notes. And I think that's 100% true.
True, very true.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. It's what's not there that really helps,
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, it was really cool talking. I just wanted to call in and say hey, and I'm glad you did the show, and hopefully I'll bump into you soon. We'll get together.
Absolutely, Chuck. All the best, brother. I'll see you soon, all right?
All right, Rob. You too. Good luck. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. You
hey,
too.
Chuck, if you'll hang on the line, our call screener is going to get your email address and your mail address. We're going to send you some prizes for calling in. We got, we got the DVD that I just dropped on live television. We got the Drummers Collective 25th anniversary celebration with Bass Day 2002, and we got a pair of Vader sticks, 8A Vader sticks that we're going to send you for calling in. We appreciate you being this is the very first caller that we've had on the show. Yeah. So
all right, Chuck.
Wow.
Way to go, buddy.
I'm honored, Rob.
Yeah, cool, man. Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, I'm going to put you back in the queue. Just hang on. Yeah, hang on there, and we'll get your info there. Thanks, Chuck.
All right, thank you.
So, wow, first caller.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Spoke some good knowledge, too.
Yeah, dude. I'm going to have to go back and watch that 5 times.
Now we need to ask Rob. Rob, so are you still currently playing quite a bit as well?
Yeah, I'm enjoying playing, probably more, than ever. I've been really fortunate to play with some, really terrific players that are in, the area where I live. I love doing just local stuff. I live north of Manhattan, and getting into the city, moving drums, if you have to move drums, it's so stressful and hectic,
Right.
We have some really nice venues up where we are, and it's real easy to do. A lot of the clubs up there have drums there, so you don't have to bring much, and it just makes it real easy. And being so close to the city, it's just I'm really blessed to have such wonderful players that drag me out and let me play with them, and we're doing some really nice. It's been really rewarding and really fun. I took off from playing for a while when I had kids that were young, and I was running, Drummers Collective and then Hudson Music and DCI originally, and I couldn't do everything because I wanted to coach Little League with them. So I kind of stopped playing for about, I don't know, maybe literally 8 years. I'd play in the basement by myself, but I just didn't have time to do it all. So, and it was, the best decision I ever made, because those are some of the most amazing memories I have of my kids.
Can't beat that family time for sure.
So, it was great because it gave me a chance to get away from playing for a little while and kind of rethink things. And then slowly I started sitting in with bands and realized how much I missed that. And so it's kind of just been this, kind of more and more kind of thing of getting to play with some really, terrific players with, guys with amazing resumes. I look around and say, like, what am I doing up here with these guys? This one's got like 400 records. This guy's been touring, amazing. It's a great thing. I've been really blessed with that. And to be able to kind of get accepted to be brought back into that circle was really great.
For sure, for sure.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and if you go to YouTube, well, we've talked about YouTube today, there's actually some great examples of Rob playing drums on YouTube. Just search Rob Wallis drums. I did
Is
it just
there?
the other
Oh,
night.
geez. I never do that. I should know. I should better take a look.
Now you will.
Right. Rob doesn't YouTube. The real takeaway from this whole thing is
The king of video.
Rob doesn't Google himself, and he doesn't YouTube himself.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. No, I'm not interested in what I'm doing. I'm enjoying checking out what other people are doing.
Absolutely.
There's some great stuff up there. I actually saw some this week that some great examples of you playing with some amazing players, and it's great to. I don't think the world knows as much about Rob Wallis, the drummer, as they do the companies that you have spearheaded and that you've been behind, and I would imagine it's your love of drums that got you into this in the first place. It's got to be your love of drums that keeps you in this.
Yeah, I love it. I love drummers. I love hanging out with guys. I think, like you guys, I'm sure, drummers are the most important part of any band. The old story, you take a bad band with a good drummer and you'll get through the night, but a good band with a bad drummer and it sounds like a train wreck,
right.
And it's so true. And, when I was young, I used to get really insulted with the drummer jokes that everybody heard. And I kind of said to myself at a young age, I want to really set out to try to dispel that, BS, because it was
There is a lot of it out there.
It was so wrong. And, you listen to guys out there and the music, the musicality of so many drummers, that we've, in our lifetime, all us, you guys and me, and the listeners, that we've been able to enjoy, and admire. And that's really what drives me is getting to meet guys and getting to understand them as people and then understanding, why they play. And they all play the way their personalities are. It's the great ones, the greats. It's just an extension. It's not like... it's not like they're doing anything that's that unique. Look, there's X amount of notes and you have, everybody, you have two hands and two feet and you put it together, but it's the personality. And those are the greats. And those are the ones I love to listen to because you hear a backbeat, and you say, oh man, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Right,
and no matter what, many, many years ago in the old Drummers Collective, probably in the, I would say, early 80s, Purdy once gave, this is in the early days of clinics and master classes. And we had this clinic, small clinic room, and he came in to do, one of the first clinics at Drummers Collective. And we went around, there were about 5 or 6 rooms in those days, and we were picking out, he said, let me pick out a snare drum to use. And we went to all these different brand drums, and every one of them, it sounded like Purdy, and I was cracking up. And I said, well, that one sounds like you. And then you go to another, well, that one sounds just like you. And you realize it's really, listen, great drums certainly make the job easier and tuning and staying in tune and the tone. And, if you're looking for certain kind of color of the drums, the drums do make a difference. But at the end of the day, when you step back and look at the whole big picture, Purdy hitting 6 different snare drums, all 6 sounded like Purdy. Yeah. So it was a pretty...
It's where the personality comes out, absolutely.
In 1 or 2, notes, it's like boom, boom, that's Purdy, and certain, certain musicians have that. Certainly B.B. King, when he hangs on one note and vibratos, a note, it's like, boom, that's B.B. King. Richard T. hitting a chord on a Fender Rhodes. He was a keyboard player that did hundreds of records with Gadd, but he was in Paul Simon and Simon & Garfunkel, when you hear that Rhodes sound of Richard T. through a little $30 small stone, I think it was phase shifter, and it's like, oop, there's T.
Right.
Yep.
And that to me is the level that, kind of separates a lot of the pack out from when you can have that identifiable sound, feel, and to me, Gadd was, it was, and will always be, one of the stellar examples of that, and always playing the right thing, leaving the right space, and covering, any style of music. It's, pretty mind-boggling.
Speaking of Gad, there's those 2 legendary videos that you did way back in the day. There's the up close and the in session videos you did with Gad. Was there something that you learned in doing those videos in particular that helped you going forward, and maybe even help you to this day with making better videos?
I mean, to be sitting there, first of all, I wasn't supposed to even be on camera. The plan was I was going to sit kind of right next to the camera in front of the kit.
Yep.
And, I had like a ripped T-shirt on or something that day. I was 25 years old.
You were just as casual as we are right here.
Well, no, you guys are definitely uptown compared to what I was probably wearing that day, And, at the last minute, Steve said, no, it'd be more comfortable. I barely knew him at that point.
Oh, wow.
So, I wasn't going to argue. I was happy that we got him. It was a period where he was working, day and night, 20, literally 24/7. So we got him in the studio, and, we didn't, I was nervous. It was really one of the first, productions on that scale of having somebody and saying, that, we all felt that we were doing something that was going to be important,
sure.
Even while it was happening that day. So he said, well, why don't you sit next to me here? And I had to literally borrow this sweater. I think it was a black sweater from the cameraman.
That's a great.
Literally took it off and gave me a sweater. I said, man, I look what I'm wearing. I can't, sit next to you.
You got to cover that ratty T-shirt up, boy.
It's the truth. It's the absolute truth.
That's
this
awesome.
Camera named Bill. I hadn't thought about that. So that's how that happened. In the second video we did, the in session one with Steve and holding the tape box.
I put that clip up this week. That's amazing.
That was a totally happened right at the moment. We were taking a break and we were in the control room, and I said to Steve something about, maybe we can do something about brushes when we go back into the studio. We kind of stopped, we were on like a lunch break or something. And he grabbed a pair of brushes in the control room and literally grabbed them. He said, "Did you ever hear, when you ever play on a tape box?" I said, "No, I've never played on a tape box." He said, "I've actually done, some records. It's a great sound. Here, check it out." Because it was like a grainy, those old Ampeg boxes,
yep.
Those real thick boxes that had like a grainy texture. There was like a texture on the box.
Yeah.
Right.
So he said and there was one, in those days everything was tape, right? So he had a box sitting there. He said, "Here, check it out." All of a sudden he starts playing. I said, "Wait, don't move. Let's get a camera." And literally, the cameraman was like on lunch.
Genius
I said,
in
"Man,
action.
Get a camera. Come in here." I held the box and I was like, there I am, like, a foot away from him. And he's sitting there playing, and singing Bye Bye Blackbird. It was like mind boggling.
That's amazing.
It's one of the greatest videos, moments in drum video history to me is that.
Oh, there's so much to learn.
It's the kind of thing that you would only get if you just happened to be in the same room with Steve and he was comfortable with you.
Yeah, he was relaxed. That was the second video. So, we had already, been friends for a while and some time had lapsed from, the first video and kind of first meeting him, it was just one of those moments, that was, thank God we had a camera there to capture it, because to me, it's so revealing of Steve's soul and his personality and just, when he hits the floor with his foot and you hear this thud, it was a raised, we were in a control room and the back part of it was raised because they ran cables underneath it. So when he hit his foot, it made like a kind of a bass drum sound because there was air under it was just like, a 4x8 piece of plywood or something, so that was carpeted. So it made a great sound. Yeah. So there he's playing a box and hitting the floor, making this great kind of bass drum sound, and humming and he developed that, he used that in some other like PAS mass classes he did, and he kind of sang more Blackbird. He kind of hummed and sang it more. He kind of developed it more. But to me, it was such a revealing moment, and how deep, the guy's soul was. And people may not know it. I mean, anytime I've seen Steve play, many, many times over the years, and many, many, class, kind of presentations, whether it's in front of 100 people or 2,000 people. And whenever he plays by himself, he always thinks about a tune. And if he's soloing, he's either soloing to the form of the tune,
Yep.
Or the melody of the tune is in his head, but there's always a musical context. It's never like, let me just play these notes and do these triplets, and it's all, a lot of it was based on his rudimental background, and sometimes his solos would start with that rudimental thing, and then he'd kind of diverge from that, and then come back to the theme of it at some point. But that's also why he loved, he rest in peace, a great percussionist from New York named Ralph McDonald.
Oh, yeah.
Steve would sometimes do the Zildjian Days and some of the larger events, with Ralph, who would maybe just play cowbell and groove like crazy on a cowbell. But that inspired Steve musically to then go and he'd still be thinking about song form and stuff, but it gave him something to play off of.
Sure.
And that's all he needed, just someone playing a cool cowbell pattern.
Oh, yeah.
And the two of them, it sounded like, five guys playing, and grooving like crazy.
For sure. Well, that's it, talking about that tape box moment. The one thing that I can say about all of the DCI, Hudson, everything that has Rob Wallis attached to it in terms of video content, you can almost be assured at some point in the video, there's going to be that moment where you get a glimpse into the person. A lot of drum videos are very guilty of just the facts, ma'am.
Right.
Let's run it by the numbers. But that moment with Gad's video, there's the Dennis Chambers moment where he has to slow a lick down and can't slow the lick down. He can only play it fast.
Right.
And that's one of those moments where you get it for just a brief second. You get past the veneer of Dennis into the soul of Dennis, which is, I'm just real good, and I just kind of do this, and I really want to show it to you, but this is about all you're gonna get. Figure it out. And it's endearing. It makes you love him more,
right.
Because you understand that he's got something that not everybody has.
Right.
There's moments in the Neil Peart videos. There's moments in Keith Carlock's video that you guys did where he's just talking to people, and you get past all of just here's the facts, here are the notes.
Right.
You really do get a glimpse of who that person is. So thank you very much for I don't know if you do that on purpose or if it's totally by accident, but it is one of the things that I love so much about any video that I know that you've had something to do with.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, to me, it makes me happy to hear that because, besides the notes that you might learn from a particular book or a video, it's about the person. I mentioned that earlier. It's the soul and really the person coming through that is so important to playing music. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're all here for, right? Is to try to play the instrument better and express yourself better. And most of the projects we do, we always go in with a plan. It's never like, let's wing it, and turn on the camera and say, well, what do you got, babe?
Right.
What's up today?
Kind of like this television show. Yeah. Just turn them on and go.
We try to have a plan. Some guys are more comfortable on camera speaking than others. Some are, more self-confident, because
Sure.
It's being captured and it's going to be out there for a long time. Some guys, it's something that was a springboard for their career, so they're very self-conscious about what they're saying and how they're presenting it. But we always try to leave room for the human element, whether it's something funny that happens or you see an expression on someone's face that we had to leave go a couple extra seconds when they were done playing, where there should have been an edit theoretically,
right.
But there was a moment there, something that happened, it were like a sigh of relief that they got through playing the example.
That didn't suck too bad.
And it's important because let people see everybody's human, everybody gets nervous, everybody's really. As Steve Gadd says, we're all in it together, and he's so right, So those are really the human part. To me, we always try to really get to that spot where you say, "Oh man, he's a cool guy," check that out, or he had the same problem I had, and when guys even talk about it, it makes it so real and accessible, It breaks down that wall of, can I ever get to that level,
Right. It becomes a lot less us and them. It just becomes us.
Yeah.
Which is the way it should be. I have one last question. I really appreciate you spending this much time, especially on your vacation.
Oh, man, my pleasure.
I want to acknowledge you for all you've done for our industry. Again, I don't think it's any small thing to say that you are the grandfather, the godfather of all drum videos.
I'm old,
But you also gave us access to stuff that wasn't available. And I remember sitting with that first Weckel video when it came out and being like, this is the greatest thing ever. Yeah. So thank you for that,
I was very blessed, and my partner through a lot of that, business partner Paul Siegel, we were very blessed to be, really be in the right spot at the right time, kind of seize the moment, and it just, kept growing. I mean, we started something, and had really no business plan like you're supposed to have when you start a business, and budgets, and it was never about that. It was really about, trying to take a step forward, trying to avoid as many potholes as possible, but we fell into most of them, and then you figure out how to climb your way out. There was no textbook case like, okay, well, you start an instructional drum company. Here's what you do in like the first 6 months. Yeah. There was no guidebook.
You needed an instructional video for how to start an instructional video company. That's what you needed.
And we didn't have it. So we made a lot of mistakes, but, and really, I mean, looking back, so I've had, so blessed with so many unbelievable friendships and relationships with guys that, there's a bunch of guys that I've got to work with that really I consider, very, very close friends, and I'm thankful for, really blessed, to have that,
Cool, yeah. So speaking of friends, and we could talk about I got so many things we could talk about. You got to see our mutual friend Tom Seguzzo play the other night.
Yeah, Goose. Yeah,
oh, man, Goose is fabulous.
Great player.
Every time he comes to town, I have to see him. Shannon and I have gone out to see him when he's been here in town and stuff. Great drummer. The relationships. You've had a catbird seat for some pretty unique relationships, I think.
Yeah,
definitely. So
absolutely.
I have one more question for you before we go, and it really is this idea of an industry of drum video, especially given the internet and what it's done to sort of turn things on its head. Mm-hmm. Where do you see drum video and video instruction specific to drummers going, say, the next 5 to 10 years?
It's a good question, and it's kind of the $1 million question, and it really applies, on some levels, to the whole music business, mm-hmm. and even the broader than that, if you want a real aerial view, media, the whole media business, yep. Magazines and newspapers and record labels and film companies. I mean, it really is, kind of, the chains are off, the rules, there's no more rules.
Right.
I think, on one level, and I consider myself, really fortunate because we've had this, very, very long run. But things have changed a lot. And I think there's some guys out there, some of whom you've mentioned earlier, that are doing great things, mm-hmm. Online now, and have apparently, built very nice businesses for themselves in doing that, which is wonderful. I think that there's going to be more and more guys that will be doing, if you really want to put the work in and organize yourself and build a little bit of an infrastructure where you can teach, right out of your, own practice, studio. And, I think there's going to be probably more and more of that happening. Mm-hmm. I'm looking into some interesting possibilities in that regard, even about maybe doing some more online type of things and content that's created uniquely, for the online experience.
Sure.
But we'll see where that goes. I'm thinking of kind of throwing some ideas around right now with some other people, but it's hard to say. I mean, what you were talking about earlier, there's such a glut of content, mm-hmm. and guys from all over the world, are putting clips up and some of it is to try to get recognized. Some of it is just sort of ego. Some of it is because they want to, spread knowledge and information. So, the problem is getting through the clutter. Yeah. Like you said, and YouTube can be a mixed blessing. I mean, obviously, you can go in there and get content that you couldn't watch in a lifetime. Sure. But you can also get really kind of overwhelmed by it and completely distracted. Right. So that if you're trying to focus, on playing, in 5/4 because you got a gig next week and they told you, you're playing a tune that's in 5, and all of a sudden you find yourself, 3 hours went by and you watched like the greatest, guy with feet that, are, impossible. You realize, ooh, geez, I just blew 3 hours,
Right. And now I need to call in sick for the gig because I still don't know how to play in 5.
Right. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. But coming back to answer your question, I think what has happened, just like what you're doing now, 5 years ago, running a little, a blog like this, webcasting, out of your facility there,
room
you
above
would have
my
never
garage.
thought possible.
Right. No, you're right.
Right? You would have never thought that possible.
Absolutely.
It's like, what you're doing is no different than, what Johnny Carson did, in the, throughout his career, or put any, kind of host in, right? Sure. Any talk show host. And now you can do it for, an infinitesimal fraction of what it would cost back in the day,
Yeah, you just, in our case, you just buy 4 or 5 iPhones and
string them up.
you string them all together, and that's how we're making this.
Are you using iPhones?
Yeah. I'll have to tell you offline about how we're doing this. It's pretty amazing, and you can see we're still getting it together, but you can see online later how we're.
I got one
this.
final question for Rob, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So just for the fans out there that are tuned into what we're doing, is there anything that you've got coming out anytime soon or that you're currently working on that we need to be aware of as far as a new video or any of that?
There's a new, everything that we're doing going forward is going to be, print-based, whether it's, physical book or a digital book, because, DVDs are pretty much, extinct at this point. So, and I think having that medium and what I had talked about earlier, where with our digital book player, it's so fantastic because, you're working on the exercise, you tap the button, the box pops up, and you see the exercise, and you move on to the next one when you're ready. It's like a seamless, kind of flow.
Sure.
Yep.
But anyway, to answer the question, I just shot a video. I wanted to do something with somebody kind of new and fresh. A lot of guys, and obviously no disrespect, have, I've worked with a bunch of guys,
Everybody?
25, for many, many years.
It's a long list.
The list of people you haven't worked with is probably a lot shorter than the ones that you have
worked with.
Yeah, maybe so. But, I wanted to, I was thinking back how, kind of back in the 80s, we would help, break new guys into our little corner of the world, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, just as I was kind of thinking about that, I was approached by a drummer who I had never heard of or heard play, and I started to do some checking. He had some real interesting ideas on content, and I thought that, were really well thought out. And, one thing led to another. I spoke to a few people and that were in the know, and that said, "Oh yeah, he's a serious player," kind of thing. And so I'm working on a project. We just shot it 2 weeks ago with a drummer named Mark Kohlenberg.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Write that one down.
Right.
YouTube him, and he's a monster player, amazing precision, but grooves like crazy. And he's doing a lot of kind of a merger of hip hop and traditional jazz. I saw him at the Blue Note about 6 weeks ago with a great trumpet player, and it was a real straight ahead kind of jazz. The music was kind of a traditional straight ahead thing, but he was playing under it, kind of these, really intricate hip hop grooves, but it all swung and grooved like crazy.
Oh wow!
And
okay,
he's done a lot of records with Q-Tip and Kanye, and he's one of these guys he's working like crazy.
Yeah,
works with a couple of producers, and all of a sudden, I'm realizing this guy's got this big resume, and it's a very cool project.
Well, I look forward to checking that out for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be out, in sometime in September.
Okay.
And we got a ton of great content, so we're working our way through that now. And I've got a couple of other, new projects that we're trying to schedule. It's a question of guys' schedules and our schedule. We'll hopefully be shooting them in the fall, and they'll be out in early 2018. But a couple of cool things in the queue, hopefully.
Awesome.
Nice.
Cool. Well, Rob, thank you so much for taking time away from your vacation to sit here and talk with us.
Good.
I literally could ask you questions for about 6 hours, but I'm not going to.
We're not going to do that to you.
So, thank you so much, guys. Make sure that you check out Hudson Music, Hudson Digital, and the Drum Guru app, because as far as the kind of content that you can get there, in terms of it's hard to beat the price of it, the production quality of it, the value of the education, the caliber of players that Rob's getting are flipping amazing.
Yeah.
And it definitely is the high watermark, and always has been the high watermark for what to do with video and drum instruction. So thank you for hanging out with us, and enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Let's do it again. We'll pick it up, down the road sometime. And good luck with what you're doing. I think it's wonderful. Anything that helps bring the drum community together and connects the dots is a great thing. So, hats off for your efforts, and I wish you a lot of success with it, and anything I could do along the way, by all means.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rob.
All right. Have a great rest of the weekend, and then we'll talk soon.
All right. We'll see you later.
Have a great day, buddy.
All right. Take care, fellas.
So, hang on. I'm gonna have to catch my breath a second.
Okay.
That's a big get for episode number 3.
Number 3. That was a wonderful guest.
That is a huge get, guys. That's Rob Wallis. If your eyes have been on any sort of drum video in the last
40 years.
Yeah.
He's the man.
He's the reason that you've been able to have that. He's the guy that started it, and he's the guy that does it as well, if not better, than everybody else. And
all the guys that we've talked about today owe this man something, because he was kind of the predecessor to all of this. So.
Right. So there's a ton of great stuff for you to check out. By all means, go back and watch the video. within the next couple of weeks, we're going to take all of our first episodes and going to put them into some post-production so we polish them up, and you'll actually be able to get more screenshots from the sites that we talked about today and the apps that we talked about today. And there'll be all kinds of links to the content once the site's live in a couple of weeks. So for now, though, make sure that you come back to our Facebook page or our YouTube page or follow us on Twitter so that you can find us on Periscope. And we're going to be here for now every Monday at noon.
We will be starting on time next week.
We will start. Yeah, because I won't have 40 things.
I
won't
have to
have a
show
book
up at
report.
your house at 6 in the morning.
I won't have a book report I'm giving tomorrow. Anyway, so guys, thanks so much. Make sure you follow us on all the social. We're Dial a Drummer pretty much everywhere. And this cool little toll-free line, 844-833-3786. I turn around to look at it, but I can see it right there and right there. You can call that line anytime during the week if you have a question, a comment, something you'd like for us to talk about, an idea for the show. There's a voicemail that's associated with that number. You just leave a message. We'll pick it up, and we'll be here again next week. We hope that you will show up and be there with us as well.
And happy 4th of July, everybody.
That's right. You see how much I pay attention to the calendar, right?
He doesn't keep track of holidays or special events.
Or Little
So we
League.
hope everybody enjoys their holiday and has a great week.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you again next time on Dial a Drummer.
See ya.